Welcome to Between the Sheets, the podcast where we're going to cover a variety of topics related to sexual health and wellness. I'm Dr. Stephanie Zwonitzer, your host. I'm a nurse practitioner and have been in practice since 2017. I have my Doctor of Nursing Practice degree, and I specialize in urology and sexual health. I am so excited to explore all of the various topics related to sexual health and wellness with you in a fun, spicy, educational, and non-judgmental manner. So come on, let's get between the sheets. Hey, welcome back to Between the Sheets. I'm excited to have you back with us today, and I have a wonderful guest on with us today. We have Victoria here today. Victoria is your go-to woman if you want to feel the best possible version of yourself in and out of the bedroom. Using somatic approach of breath, sound, and movement, Victoria teaches you how to really connect with your body, giving you a new appreciation for yourself and confidence you never knew you had. Victoria has been practicing as a somatic sexologist for nearly 10 years, teaching women and couples all over the world to live their best sexual and sensual lives, which in turn enables them to be the best versions of themselves every day. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited about this. So first, just kind of tell us, what is a somatic sexologist to start the conversation?
Okay, so somatic sexology is based in sexological bodywork, which is teaching through breath, sound, and movement. So what that means is we work with the body and through the body. So it's not a talk-based therapy per se. There'll be some conversation, obviously, but it's all about really understanding and connecting with your own body. So really working with people to understand how their breath affects them, how that affects their mood. So even simple things from stress and anxiety management to then really learning how to harness the breath to increase your sexual prowess, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an incredible tool that we've lost sight of, I think, in the modern world. You know, we're so consumed with the digital era that we've kind of lost the power of the body. And that's what we're getting back to, that kind of raw connection and really helping people tap into this untapped gold and wisdom that they didn't know they had, so that they can really kind of feel the best version of themselves, like you said, in and out of the bedroom, because it starts with the bedroom, but obviously then plays out in everyday life.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what is going on in people's lives when they are reaching out to you? Are they mostly having sex issues? Are they having anxiety and relationship issues, work issues? What's going on that they reach out for you?
It's so varied, which obviously then makes it really hard to kind of have a niche, because every client is different. But there's a few obviously common threads. So a big one over in Europe, for example, it's quite interesting the way that the global demographics have worked for me. And that just for me as a practitioner, I'm not saying that that's as an overall, but over in Europe, it's a lot to do with having a better sex life and having the best possible orgasms that they could possibly have. You know, women are reaching out to be like, I think there's something more. I've heard you on this, or I've read your article on that. And I feel like there's more. And can you help me really connect with my own sensual energy?
Yeah.
Whereas over here in Australia, where I'm based at the moment, I'm obviously a Brit living abroad, is that it's a lot more confidence based. Women want help to feel confident in themselves so that then they can feel more confident in the bedroom and confident in the workplace, which then in turn kind of evolves to, okay, so you want to feel more confident in the bedroom and being naked and having that sexual confidence. And then more kind of my clients that are in South Africa, for example, that's been a little bit more business operating.
Okay.
So they've really been like, okay, I just want to be able to stand up and say no, you know, and it's kind of that boundary thing, which fundamentally relates to your boundaries throughout life, right?
Absolutely.
So if you can't go in the workplace, how are you going to say no in the bedroom? You know, it's one of those things that's really kind of interesting of how the dynamics really do interrelate, because I think often, you know, people will say, well, what's somatic sexology got to do with my business? But why would I like have that as part of a, you know, a business training module, for example? It's like, well, actually, it's really intrinsically linked, because the way that you feel about yourself and even just the hormones that are racing in your body, if
Mhm.
you're really disconnected in a sensual and sexual way from yourself,
Okay.
actually you're not presenting in your full power. You're not vibrating at the
Yeah.
hertz that you should, because everything's a little bit diminished. And because you're not so self-assured, actually that
Mhm.
then plays out in every other part of your life.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think, even in my own personal journey, I've noticed that the more confidence I have in and of myself, the more that relays into my relationships, my ability to hold confidence at work and things like that. So I definitely can see what you're saying on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a common thread that kind of weaves through every aspect of life. But
Mm.
predominantly, I'd say over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, it's been predominantly post COVID. COVID was very stress and anxiety management,
Yeah.
because obviously everybody was at home and everybody
Yep.
was locked down and there was heightened stress. And for some people, it catapulted their sex lives. For other
Mhm.
people, it really receded them. So there was a
Yes.
lot of, okay, well, can you start to understand how your body's feeling, like tuning
Mhm.
into really starting to recognize when you are feeling stress and anxiety, because
Mm.
you might feel that when you're going into present at work, but you also might feel that with a partner. So
Mhm.
certainly if it's a new partnership and you don't know each other that well, that kind of like fear, and then you kind of go
Mhm.
into, that fight or flight mode, and
Yeah.
then you're kind of paralyzed by, oh, actually I don't really enjoy this, and then you end up in a cycle, a few years later, of having sex that
Right.
you didn't really enjoy.
Yes, and
Could
I've had
never
that.
say, oh, actually I don't like that in the beginning, and
Right.
then it gets too late. Then that's quite common, throughout everybody that I've worked with over the
Mhm.
years.
Yeah, I've seen that with patients as well, especially female patients. Females, for some reason, think that we really need to uh, tell our partners that they're doing a good job, even if they're not. That we have to pretend we're having an orgasm, even if we're not. And I'm not really sure where we got wrong on that track, but absolutely not. And that's one of the things that I have found confidence in myself is like, if what you're doing isn't feeling good, I am not going to give you reinforcement.
I'm not going to give
Like,
you the validation you need and stroke your own
right.
ego at the
Exactly.
sacrifice of myself and my own pleasure. And do you know
Yeah.
what? That is so common. And what's really interesting is that if you speak to most women, I would say 90% of women that I speak to, certainly now, and certainly where I am based in Australia, women are very, I'm having great sex. I'm orgasming all the time. And I'm
Yeah.
like, really?
Right.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
Statistically, impossible for every single
Right.
person I speak to be having that experience. But actually, there's a lot of image. I think, the world we live
Mhm.
in, obviously everything on Instagram and social, we're all kind of this very image conscious based world where we've got to be living the perfect lives with the
Yep.
perfect partner, having the perfect sex life, going on the
Yep.
perfect holiday, and everything's amazing and shiny and fabulous. When actually, it's fine to say, do you know what? Actually, it's a bit shit, or it used to be really great and now it's not. Or, a common one, we've had kids and we've just lost our connection. We've
Mhm.
got no time, and I don't know how
Yeah.
to get that back. But people, instead of doing that, they kind of suffer in silence. I'm like, let's just open that conversation up.
Yeah.
Like, conversations like these are exactly what women across the world and men need to hear, because it's like,
Yeah.
actually, and everybody in between, because
Yeah.
it's, we can just express ourselves in a way that is,
Mhm.
I guess, what it comes down to for me is, because egos are fragile, and
Yeah.
actually I think the world that we've maybe grown up in, certainly in the last sort of 100, 200 years, has been this very patriarchal society where the man is the provider and the
Mhm.
strength, and we expect them to be brimming with confidence and feeling
Yeah.
amazing, and that's just not the world of the modern man. We
Yeah.
have people are very sensitive and feel very under attack if you comment on something that you don't like. So then it's really understanding, okay, how do we create a language, that love
Mm.
language piece, I guess, to an extension within the
Yeah.
bedroom? How do we create a way of being together that we can actually explain how we feel without hurting anybody's feelings.
Yeah.
So one thing I'll just kind of give a little bit of a tip
Mhm.
for your listeners.
Yes.
One thing that I would always recommend to do, and as soon as I start working with couples, it's the first thing I'd get them to do with any client, in fact,
Mhm.
is go away and do what we call self pleasure mapping. So you
Mm.
start on your own and you spend the time and you really work out what works for you. So,
Yeah.
do I really like kind of this gentle trace down the side of my face? Or
Mhm.
actually, do I like a little bit of a pinch in my inner
Mhm.
arm? Or do I like a little squeeze of the thigh? And really kind of explore your own body
Mhm.
to go, okay, well, that feels really nice for me. Do I
Yeah.
like a feather traced over me? Or have
Mhm.
you got some silky panties that you can, use as a bit of a
Yeah.
tool? And do I like really strong smells, or do I prefer
Mhm.
it without? Do I like sensual music, or do I want something that's a bit more vibey?
Yeah.
And then with your partner or other that you're exploring with, to then do that same ritual. You can
Yeah.
use, close the eyes off so that you're
Mhm.
really building up the senses and really start to explore each other's bodies so that you can say, actually, I really don't like that. Or,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, actually, oh, that's amazing. I would never, me touching my ear is, yeah,
Yeah.
but my partner, oh, quite a
Yeah.
different story. So it's really then starting to get back to basics. And then
Mhm.
from that, you can use that as your communication tool to
Mm.
say, because it's equally, each other's bodies inside and out, then
Yeah.
kind of, and you go on this journey together
Mhm.
versus turning the light off, fumbling in the dark and hoping for the best and never saying anything.
Right. Right.
Highly
No, I
recommend
love
trying
that.
this at home, folks.
Yeah, no, I love that. Like it's such a kind of like an organized chaos. You get to have this time to explore each other with the purpose of yes, no, kind of, maybe this way, maybe that way, and figuring it out so that going into it, it is exploratory and you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings because you are just trying things. I love that.
Yeah, definitely. And the way that you express yourself, and again, this is something you can work with. It might be a color. You might want to,
Mm.
you might be a color person. You might be a numbers person.
Mhm.
1 is terrible and 10 is good. Or it might be words. And what we try when I'm working with clients, and I try is like try not to use the word nice. Because
Mm.
nice, it's not descriptive enough, and people kind of get lost in that. So it's like
Yeah.
really try and own your own sensations. What does it really feel like? Okay, that
Yeah.
feels really bubbly and juicy for me and gives me butterflies. Or actually, that really makes me see and feel the color pink. And oh, okay, so I'm
Okay.
going to guess that that's good. So, it's really kind of being playful with it as well. It's not too
Mhm.
serious, and there's no hard and fast rules so that you can set your own terms essentially.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And I like that you said to start by yourself too, because my listeners know I'm a huge proponent of masturbation and self-love and self-care because if you don't know what's good for you, you're never going to be able to tell your partner what's good for you.
Yeah, 100%. So the way that I would term masturbation would be self pleasure.
Mhm.
So we kind of, and it's the first thing I do a whole program on self pleasure alone. It's an
Awesome.
individual model, and it is where I always start. So the first thing with couples, often you will find one person in the relationship has just stopped self pleasuring altogether.
Mhm.
It
Okay.
just doesn't exist. Often in heterosexual relationships, it tends to
Yeah.
be the woman.
Mhm.
And often when it's in marriages and you've got kids involved, that tends to be the case because there's often this issue and concept of time and also
Mm.
what self-pleasure means. I think people,
Yeah.
we've grown up in a world where actually masturbation's become a bit of an issue. People can
Mm.
over rely on it. It can
Yeah.
be, quite in your face, and people
Mhm.
have got this view and stereotypical view of what masturbation is. And
Yeah.
actually it's like, okay, let's take a step back and rewind,
Mhm.
because taking a moment out to really give yourself pleasure and
Mhm.
really just feel sensually into your body and spend some time dancing to your favorite music and giving yourself a bit of love. And yes, if you end up getting down to the genitals, then great, go
Yeah.
for it. But it's really just about, okay, like, let's just explore the body and take some time out for you. And it has to start with you, because you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. And I've heard you say many times before, like, this is where it's got to begin. You've got to know
Yeah.
yourself. And it is true, because if you also can't evoke pleasure in yourself, you are then putting it out to somebody else and
Mhm.
expecting it from them, which
Yeah.
is a huge amount of pressure. Huge amount
Yeah.
of pressure. Not just for you, but for the person you're with as well,
Right.
because you're going into that going, I expect you to pleasure me and give me the most mind-blowing orgasm, when actually
Yes.
you've never been able to do that yourself. Now,
Right.
I know for some people it can be tricky,
Mhm. Yeah.
bringing themselves to climax, which is
Sure.
absolutely fine. And everybody's
Mhm.
version of climax and orgasm is completely different.
Yes.
But being able to feel comfortable taking
Mhm.
your clothes off and being with yourself, just touching yourself, even if it's not
Yeah.
to bring yourself to climax, is so important.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting because I have friends who climax very easily, like myself, or I have friends who have very difficult time climaxing. And I've noticed, now that we're talking about this and I'm thinking about it, I've noticed that the ones who enjoy their self pleasure, who prioritize their own, not just sex, but their own, getting their hair and nails done, going to the gym, just overall taking care of themselves, those women tend to, at least the way that they describe things, I mean, I'm not in their bedroom, but they tend to seem to have better orgasms. And I wonder if that's part of what you're getting at, that it's not just the sexual genital part of it, it's the entire body of having self-love and self-pleasure.
100%. And I know embodiment is kind of like the term of the moment, but
Mhm.
that's kind of really the crux of it, is because if you spend a lot of time, and it's not necessarily going to the gym, but I know a lot of people, for example, who have really strong spiritual practices and would say
Mhm.
they're really embodied, but when it comes to sensuality, sexuality, are like
Mhm.
so disconnected,
Yeah.
because actually there's the level of really being in tune with how your body moves. So I can see why you kind of make that connection,
Mhm.
because actually there is something in being having an awareness of your body. And I think when
Mhm.
you're in that zone, you are aware of how your body's moving, how it's feeling when you're doing certain actions. So
Yeah.
you become consciously aware of how your body feels as you're doing.
Mhm.
And it's the same in the bedroom. I one of my first ever clients, and she doesn't mind me telling this story, was very hung up with kind of how she felt about herself, and kind of went into sex with just that view of,
Mm.
this is for him and I'm just
Yeah.
doing this and I feel really uncomfortable, and not really kind of aware of her own body and her own pleasure.
Mhm.
And and I just said to her, I was like, just flip it. Going to sound really harsh, but stop thinking about yourself for one moment.
Yeah.
Just think about, he's the person, he's got the cat that's got the cream. It's like, this, he's got the woman of his dreams sat on top of him, having great intimate moment, and all you're thinking about is yourself. So
Yeah.
stop thinking about that and think about and focus on, how does it feel having him inside you? How does
Mm.
that feel for you? And literally, she came in after the weekend, was like, "Oh my word, you will never guess what. I've had my first orgasm in 5 years, rah!" And it was just because it was like, just you really flip the focus. And I think,
Mhm.
we live in a really busy world where
Yeah.
there's always a million things going on. And, I obviously teach this, but I'm aware that I can do this myself. Sometimes be like, okay, I haven't done this and I haven't done that. And oh gosh, this is going to take a while. And oh God, and I need to do this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, do you know what? Just because you're never also going to get anywhere with that busy monkey mind.
Right.
And another thing that I would say would be great for that, another little take home for the
Mhm.
listeners, would be to do body scans.
Mhm.
So I will put one up on my socials, as
Okay.
a fresh pin, so that people can listen to it. But essentially, it's an active meditation, and it gets you
Mm.
used to tuning into different parts of your body as you breathe. So
Okay.
you'll bring your awareness to the feet. and then
Mm.
notice what you can or can't feel. And then the legs up to, you can, do the vulva,
Yeah.
or, the genital area, the pelvic bowl, the buttocks,
Yeah.
all the bits of the body as you work through. Because what that gives you then is, okay, you're giving the mind a bit of a time out,
Yeah.
but you're also bringing all of your awareness, attention, and intention to particular parts of the body. So it really starts to help you go, okay, do you know what? I can't even feel my shins. If I
Yeah.
really breathe and go, okay, my shins just don't exist. It kind of really
Yeah.
starts to bring an awareness of, okay,
Right.
so if I really focus on my genitals, can I bring my awareness to them? Like, can I
Yeah.
actually feel that? If I breathe deep, can I feel any expansion
Mm.
in that area? So it really starts to help people then when they're moving into kind of the intimate
Yeah.
partner relations. And even with the self-pleasure mapping, starting to notice how
Mhm.
their touch and breath starts to feel really helps with that process. So I definitely recommend that
Yeah.
to anyone.
That sounds amazing. I've done that like in some yoga classes and stuff at the end when you're in savasana and they'll kind of coach you through some of that. And it's like, yeah, where are my shins? Like I don't know that I've ever consciously tried to think about feeling my shins. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, and it's funny because I'll tell my female clients, especially who have a lot of tension in their pelvis and they have issues with that. Then I always tell them, I said, I know that this sounds wonky, but I promise it works. If you close your eyes and you visualize inhaling through your nose and you just visualize that air opening your pelvis
Yeah.
and how much relaxation you can get just in one breath. And they're like, yeah, yeah, whatever. But when they try it, they're like, oh, it
Yeah.
does work.
Yes.
Because it is. It's like the visualization plus the breath, which I think you were getting at a lot as well. It is. It's very eye opening, if you will, into what's going on in your body.
Yeah, 100%. And the breath is so powerful. And I think, using the breath. So that's the first, as soon as I start working, it's the first thing that we work on is the breath, how to
Okay.
utilize the breath. And also teaching people how to belly breathe. Because actually we just tend to breathe in this kind of top half. We
Yes.
use a very small fraction of our lungs. So we don't actually breathe properly and really push out all the
Hmm.
oxygen to everywhere it needs to go. And people then don't know how to breathe deep into their belly because we're taught
Mm.
we should have flat stomachs and
Right.
having these out biggie sticky out bellies. And actually, like, no, I want you to literally push your belly out. And then you start to feel, oh, okay, I can get my breath down into my
Hmm.
pelvic bowl. Do you know what? I actually, when she's saying breathe through the vulva,
Yes.
oh yeah, I can actually breathe through the vulva.
Right.
So it's so important, and the way that you then can pace the breath can really help. Obviously, with that is long exhales and really
Hmm.
kind of slow motion, helping the muscles relax. You can obviously do the opposite, where you kind of use upregulating breaths to create
Hmm.
heightened stimulation. So
Yeah.
yeah, super powerful, and totally on board with that. Is once you get people to understand how their breath works,
Hmm.
it's a game changer.
Yeah, I had one of my patients come in too. She had difficulty releasing her urine because I'm a urologist,
Yes.
and so she had difficulty releasing her urine. And I sent her to pelvic floor physical therapy because anatomically she was great, and it was breath work. She was chest breathing, like you said, and wasn't belly breathing. And as soon as the physical therapist worked with her and taught her how to breathe correctly, by breathing in, it put just the right amount of tension on her bladder and her bladder released and she was able to pee. We didn't have to do any surgeries. We didn't have to do any medicines. It was
Amazing.
all about breath. It was fantastic.
It's incredible though, that isn't it? And you're like, because I think there's so we tend we again we live in a world where we tend to look for an external solution.
Yeah.
We've got this problem, take this pill. There's this go out here, and actually, often there's so much that we can do, and that's the core essence of my work is really getting people to understand how their bodies work and
Hmm.
the power that they hold within to be able to
Hmm.
notice the trigger signs in the body before they start to shallow breathe, before they start to flush. what are the other signs that they can recognize for stress and anxiety, for example?
Yeah.
When you're getting into the bedroom and you're feeling a little bit nervous, how do you calm the nervous system for
Mhm.
that? How do you upregulate and really tune in to be like, okay, so I really kind of want to heighten my sensations here, and what do I do, and how do I trigger that in my own
Mhm.
body without, without having to take a Viagra and without having to
Yeah.
take stimulants and other things, like how do we, and we do have so much of it within us.
Mhm.
And I just think, those elements, if you could teach, for me, if you could teach every teenager that they could have the most mind blowing visual DMT style orgasms without
Yeah.
even having to have intercourse or take any drugs, surely that's going to be a game changer
Right.
in the world.
Yeah.
Because that's
Sign me up, because I
powerful.
got 2 teenagers.
Because that is the power of what we can do with our bodies, as
Right.
part of our training. It's one of the things that we learn is how to teach people that energetic style orgasm
Yeah.
of literally using the breath, using the movement, moving the body and the touch without actually
Mm.
even having to go to the genitals to
Yeah.
create earth shattering orgasms that can be prolific in color and visions.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, really quite advanced, but really, really powerful. And just how incredible if that's we could harness that within ourselves
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what you're saying about being so aware of ourselves that we can get to those levels, I think is amazing. It's something that I have certainly been learning about more in the last few years, and just being more in touch with myself. And so it's, I am not at that level, haven't had one of those yet, but I'm on board to try that and to
Give us
learn
some
that skill.
time.
I mean, it sounds like it's worthwhile.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of fear around that kind of work. It's been quite
Mhm.
interesting because I am certified to do like hands-on, closed-off kind of work.
Uh-huh.
And it takes a long time to work with somebody
Mhm.
to get to that point. And
Yeah.
obviously, a lot of the work is online now anyway. So
Yeah.
you're guiding people through their own practices. But there's such a nervousness, and I think we've grown up in a world where being naked is shameful, or
Mhm.
it's objectified. So it's then we're not comfortable in our own skin, and being open about our sexuality
Yeah.
is, oh, that's, those weirdos over there that,
Yeah.
like to wear leather and use rope and
Right.
all that, and it's like,
Yep.
do you know what? Actually, they've got some of the strongest communication skills
Yeah.
you will ever find. And you will
Yep.
never find people, I mean, you do, but
Yeah.
in that space,
Yeah.
they communicate and they say straight away what their boundaries are.
Mhm.
And it's like, actually, we need to be educating ourselves on this and those principles
Yeah.
of there isn't any shame in wanting to get a sex swing with your partner and
Right.
hang it off the door and have a great Friday night. Why,
That's
why
right.
is that dirty and weird and wrong?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just being able to say, look, we are sexually expressive beings. We always
Mhm.
have been, always will be, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
Yeah.
whatever your expression of that is totally fine as long as it's in a fully consensual environment. If you're not
Mhm.
on your own.
Right. Right.
Um, yeah, so that's it's a big thing of letting down the barriers, I think, and
Mhm.
trusting yourself to explore, because you know the thought, I think, of being in a room, for example, with a group of people who are all in their own journeys but having no clothes on and
Mhm.
experiencing some kind of life-changing sexual experience but
Yeah.
on your own just feels like, whoa, that's all a
Right.
bit, yeah, it's a bit too
Yeah.
far and it's a bit too much. And because we don't have, we don't have the confidence, I think, in our own
Mhm.
selves and sexuality to be able to
Right.
go, you know what, I want to try that. Like,
Yeah.
and it doesn't make me weird. And I'm not,
Yeah.
so we'll see
S
where it all goes.
yeah. So, because you are a Brit, have you seen the show Naked Attraction?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so my friends and I found this show. For those of you who have not seen it, this one person who wants to find a date, and they have gay, trans, straight, all the things. Um, and you go on there, and you, as the person who wants to date, are fully clothed. The six people who you are going to think about dating are naked under this little like
No, but
box.
you can't see their heads.
Right, you can't see. So then they like raise it up and you see their genitals and you narrow it down to 5. And
Yeah.
then they raise it up and you see their chest and you narrow it down to 4. Then you see their face, you narrow it down to 3. You hear them talk, which Brits are very important on um yes, accents, which is so funny to me. And so you cut it down to 2, and then once you down to 2, then you get naked and they get to see you. So it's this whole premise of like just put it all out there so you know what you're getting first. And I'm telling you, when we first started watching this show, I watch it with my best friend, so it's hilarious because they're married and I'm single, and the three of us sit in a room and we watch this together. It's great. But the first episode, we were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're watching this! Like, I can't believe like there's no blurring out. You
No.
see everything." And in the United States, we blur stuff. So we were like, "What is happening? Why are we?" And by like the second episode, we were like, "Oh, I like that
Yeah.
vagina better than that one, and those lips are a little bit bigger than those and oh, I don't like uncircumcised penises as much as circumcised. Oh, did you see that, Prince Albert?" Like, we were all into it. It's a great show, but it's so good because it's all about being comfortable with who you are. I mean, you're not going on that show if you're not comfortable with yourself.
Yeah. And also, but the premise being is that there's so much more, and people do have their quirks, because you might look at
Mhm.
someone's feet and go, absolutely.
Yes.
And you wouldn't even know that about yourself until you did that kind of experiment, because then you're
Right.
like, because I think that you're certainly with the swipe nature, you're looking at a picture
Yeah.
and it's so great to be like, okay, well, what is it that you do or don't find attractive, and that you
Yeah.
didn't realize that you had your own little prejudices or
Yeah.
hang-ups around things. But yeah, the accent piece is so funny. Oh,
It
I'd
is.
never, like, I'm from Yorkshire, so I have quite a strong accent for
Yeah.
people. But then obviously you've got like Liverpool and
Yeah.
you know, it's the Geordies, so they've got really, and the accents are different. You might be like, oh, I'll never date somebody from there,
Right.
or
Yes. And like, why does that matter? It's just an accent.
I
But
know
it does. So great.
it
It's
is
such a
great.
fun show. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm glad that you know what that show is because it cracks me up every time we choose to watch it.
I love that you watched it with your married couple friend. Hilarious.
In fact, one of the times it was on their anniversary too. I was over at their house on their anniversary and that's what we did. Yep, it was great. You know you're real friends when you can do stuff like that.
100%. 100%.
Yes. Yeah. So okay, so if you're getting into your body and you're doing, kind of the breath work and things like that, what's kind of the next steps as far as just kind of like deepening that then?
So that then kind of comes to the touch exploration.
Okay.
So doing the kind of the pleasure mapping, for example, getting to know your body, then actually spending time. So there's the whole ritualistic process to it,
Mhm.
where you set people type. Now, you might run for example, I run a 6-week program on really kind of getting yourself into your most
Okay.
central sexual self. And it would require people to spend 3 times a week spending 20
Okay.
minutes self pleasure. Do you think anyone could do it?
Yes.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's fascinating. It's fascinating
Wow.
because everybody comes in with these great intentions, but actually when it comes to it, there's a fear of paralysis that takes
Mhm.
over. So it takes a lot longer to get there.
Okay.
Um, but that's essentially what it is. It's really starting to get people used to this and
Yeah.
being comfortable, being in presence and being like,
Mhm.
do you know that just feels really nice? And just really actually taking time
Yeah.
with themselves. And then, depending on what you're working in, if they want to take it a little bit deeper, there's really then starting to explore the body, explore the genitals and
Mhm.
what that might look like, different massage techniques that you can use,
Okay.
different touch techniques that you can use,
Yeah.
and actually how you engage the whole of the genitals, because
Okay.
we're very certainly in a heterosexual world. We're very kind of, let's go straight for the clitoris, and then let's go
Mhm.
straight for the penis, and then let's just get into intercourse, and there's a little bit
Yeah.
of foreplay but not much. So it's really then educating, okay, women, it probably takes you about 30 minutes to really
Mhm.
kind of get going, really
Yeah.
get all of you. Obviously, some people, I know you said you were the same, some people like myself and you are kind of quick to go,
Yeah.
quick to the to the starting blocks.
Yeah, but I think that's because we've also put the work
Well,
in.
so
I was
some
not always
people,
that way.
yeah, well, exactly. But for some people, it does take a little bit longer, and then it's like, okay, well, how do you get there? And one of the things
Mhm.
that I always get to do with my vulva owning clients is, can you actually feel your labia? Like, if you
Mm.
really kind of give them a bit of a go and do this later, and once we've got off the
Okay.
call,
Not
just
while
take
we're doing
a
this right
little
now.
breath
Yeah.
and be like, actually, can do I have any sensation there? Like,
Hmm.
and a lot of people don't, because they become
Interesting.
this neglected part of the body, because
Yeah.
literally we kind of go for the clitoris straight inside, and everything else
Yeah.
just gets left alone.
Yeah.
Occasionally, people will have those really great where it all gets involved, but
Yeah.
not that often. So
Mhm.
it's that invitation to, okay, really get familiar with your own body, really start
Yeah.
to explore your own body parts, so that you go, "Oh, do you know what? Actually, that feels really nice." Or, do you know, I can't feel that. So I'm going to spend the
Yeah.
next few weeks just doing a little bit of gentle vulva massage, so that I can
Yeah.
really start to gain and increase my sensation. Because imagine if all of that is fired up and turned on.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine then the results
Right.
at the end of it? That's like
So many more nerve endings.
neglect.
Yes. Yes. Explosion and colors.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Tell me about, the different programs that you offer in case anybody wants to connect with you.
So I offer a one-to-one coaching program, which is obviously very specific and targeted. So it's very, we call it student-led. So
Okay.
whoever comes, there's no set way of working. We obviously have some tools that we can work with.
Mhm.
But and often, what more often will happen is somebody will come with one thing, and then we go in a complete diversion, and it's actually something else is the root cause, and then
Okay.
we eventually kind of come back to it. So there's one-to-one work, which tends to be sort of 60-minute sessions,
Okay.
either face-to-face or online.
Mhm.
Um, and then I run a program called the Self Pleasure Workshop,
Okay.
which is a 6-week program, which is really deep diving into that's a specific vulva owner program at the moment.
Okay.
And that really kind of does a deep dive into, okay, how do I start to own my own
Mm.
self pleasure, my
Yeah.
sensuality, my sexuality? I really kind of want to feel my most, like, in unleashing your inner lioness, kind of like,
Mm.
how do I really create my sass and
Yeah.
really kind of get that confidence to kind of feel comfortable dancing naked around the bedroom and self-pleasuring myself for
Yeah.
half an hour without feeling guilty, or kind of letting my mind run away.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I've got that. And then I run various different programs depending on what comes up. So
Yeah.
I ran a program earlier in the year called Courageously Confident,
Okay.
with a couple of other practitioners, because we'd found that actually what was coming in was, okay, we really kind of want to deep into our bodies. We know there was a lot of womb kind of healing that kind of needed to come up and be
Mhm.
done. So depending on what people come with, then I can create programs that work specifically for them. But yeah, that's the main ways to work with me at the moment.
That's awesome. Have you found that the 6-week program, for women who have struggled with orgasms, whether it's, an actual disorder or just not letting themselves let go, has that really helped a lot of your ladies?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of just, and not just from a sexual point of view. So just to share a little bit of my own story
Yeah.
within this, and why I'm so passionate about this work, is when I did this program within my certification, it's called
Mhm.
orgasmic yoga. And we had to do 30 days of spending 20 to 30 minutes doing a self pleasure ritual.
Okay.
And I have had body dysmorphia all of my life.
Mm.
And on day 21 in this program, I was 32 at the time. I saw my reflection for the first time in my adult life. I saw myself
Wow.
in the mirror, and I cried. And I was like,
Oh.
I can't believe that that's me. And I'd had this distorted view of myself for so
Mhm.
long. I was just like, wow. And it gives me
Yeah.
goosebumps to this day talking about it, because
Yeah.
it's like, that's just the power of me spending time with me and literally giving my body love and attention.
Yeah.
And from that, then the kind of the remaining 9 days that we had to get to the 30 was like this like absolute powerhouse of,
That's awesome.
yeah, because then I'd seen myself and I was like, okay, I'm not this grotesque being that I see in
Right.
the mirror all the time and that I look at photos and criticize myself. Actually, I don't look like that. And it created this sense of freedom. So my point for telling that story is that there's so many reasons that we might not
Mhm.
be fulfilled sexually. And it could be that it's a body confidence related issue
Yeah.
like mine, or it could be that actually you just need to be able to relax. So, there's
Mhm.
a lot of people suffer with vaginismus. So
Yeah.
really looking at, okay, how do we really help relax that area and spend
Yeah.
time and take away the pressure of, okay, well, this is painful and I know that this is what I'm coming to
Mhm.
expect, and
Yeah.
turn, pleasure on its head so that, okay, so you are experiencing full body pleasure before
Mhm.
you even get to your genitals. And
Mm.
yeah, the results are incredible with it.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal program that, and the difficulty is that often the 6 weeks it's quite a bit of a crash course, and they
Yeah.
requires a lot of at home, because I
Mhm.
obviously can't do the work for you. I can only
Right.
give people the tools. You
Yeah.
have to then be willing to go and do the work. So, you know, only if you spend at least 3 times a week doing that work within
Mhm.
that program are you gonna get to it. And the reason it's kind of,
Sure.
6 weeks and not 21 days is purely because of that. Because,
Yeah.
you know, the spending the time on their own actually it takes a while for people to get into that, and they might start with
Yeah.
5 minutes, and that's kind of the baby step, and
Yeah.
they might do it with their clothes on, and that's the baby step,
Sure.
and you have to build up to being able to look in the mirror. For
Yeah.
me, that was a build up moment. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's incredible the powers that it can unleash within
Yeah.
you from an
Yeah.
orgasmic point of view, but just
Right.
and that's why I say this is where the business comes into it and the general
Yeah.
life, because for me, all of a sudden I was in a really horrendous narcissistic relationship at the
Mm.
time, which just got absolutely ditched and was like,
Yeah.
because I've been crippled by this. I'd not ever
Mhm.
told anybody about my, what I'd been suffering, and
Yep.
I'd suffered in silence and had, been this kind of loud, brash, scantily clad
Mhm.
person as a protection mechanism for
Yeah.
myself. Because if I was this big and vibrant and really like out there person, then nobody would know that I secretly
Mm.
really hated myself and I was this grotesque human being.
Yeah.
So once that realization for me then came and I had this embodied experience, it everything just turned on its head
Mm.
and life just catapulted. And I
Yeah.
met my now husband and I now live in Australia and
Yeah.
everything's gone, so it really is so powerful. As you can tell, I'm
Yeah.
very passionate about it.
Yeah, no, I'm just sitting here thinking like this is so similar to my story. I had traumatic relationship and just to the point where people still don't know because we had too many mutual friends and I just didn't feel like, divulging things that would happen behind closed doors and stuff and it took me a lot of therapy and self-love and time after that relationship to love myself and now yeah, I'll dance around my house naked. I
Yeah.
don't care. I love my body. I love me. Yeah, there's things that I could improve. And yes, I've got stretch marks and saggy boobs because I breastfed 2 kids. But you know what? They're mine.
Yeah.
And I'm all about it.
Yeah, and feeling comfortable and owning that and being like, "Do you know what? Your imperfections are what
Yeah.
make you you." And once you can
Yes.
start to, accept and love those bits about you, like the
Yeah.
world opens up in ways that you can't even begin to explain.
Yeah. But even as you were saying, like I used to be, I mean, it's still loud and obnoxious, but I used to be way worse. And I think, like you said, it was a mechanism. And now as I feel more confident and more self-love, and I feel more settled in my career and my finances, and my kids are getting older and finding a partner, like all of those things, I don't feel the need to be so loud.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, I think we're quite similar in that way. We're quite,
Yeah.
bubbly, vivacious kind of, people,
Yes.
but there's that element and being able to recognize, okay, that literally is that protection layer, and it
Mhm.
and it you know it appears in so many different people in so many different ways.
Yeah.
For some people they go introverted, and some people they have eating disorders, some people,
Mhm.
there's so many realms, and that's why the power of this work literally can
Mhm.
work for so many different people suffering with so many different things in so many
Yeah.
different ways. But the crux of it comes down to actually being able to take time to be, with yourself and go through
Mhm.
your own healing journey.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and talk-based therapy. I work with a lot of psychologists over here and
Mhm.
transpersonal psychotherapists, to help people go through that trauma
Mhm.
breakthrough, because as they talk it through, it's stored in the body. And I think,
Yeah.
you know, this is starting to become more commonplace and more
Mhm.
widely spoken about. But, the body literally does store our trauma, and it
Mhm.
can be anywhere. So, in predominantly for women, it will be within the womb space and within the
Yeah.
vulva, be within
Yeah.
that pelvic region, which is why we get the like tight clenching and the pain
Mhm.
and stuff. So,
Yep.
being able to release that is,
Yeah.
incredible, and helping people understand that, this pain that you're suffering. I worked with a client who had a pain in her shoulder,
Hmm.
thought it was from an injury, and she had seen physios and chiros and everybody, and we just did an intro session, and I just did a
Mhm.
guided kind of bit of a trauma release, and it kind of turned out that it was something completely
Mm.
unrelated to a relationship that
Wow.
she'd never even considered that could be a thing, and it was
Yeah.
stored in her shoulder.
Wow.
So, and that was, and that's the power of the body,
Yeah.
that's like, it really is that, the whole concept in the book, the
Yep.
body keeps the score.
Yeah.
It is so true. And once we learn to, okay, I can start to release that, and
Mhm.
with some help and some guidance, actually I don't have to repeat these habitual patterns all the
Yeah.
time of doing the same thing over and
Yeah.
over, and not knowing why I'm doing it because I've talked it to death with my therapist. No,
Right.
because actually it's ingrained and stored within your body. So
Yeah.
that trigger response is like, okay, then this is now what I do. This
Yeah.
is, I go into freeze, or
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. I love the work that you do. I love your passion. You're amazing. I'm so glad that you came on today. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're absolutely more than welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And I will put in the show notes some links that you guys can find Victoria. And hopefully, you all have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for stopping by Between the Sheets. Awesome. Thank you for listening and spending time with me today. You can catch new episodes of Between the Sheets every Wednesday. Because what better way to add some spice to your life than to have a new podcast on Hump Day? We will continue to explore common, uncommon, and taboo topics related to sexual health and wellness. Please send any comments, questions, or stories to podcastbetweenthesheets@gmail.com. That's all one word, podcastbetweenthesheets@gmail.com. Have a great day. And remember how important it is to discuss these topics with your friends, your family, and of course your partners. In fact, you can like, follow, and share this podcast so they can see it too. See you next time for more sexual health topics between the sheets.